description below, blackfolkhotspots.com. So just in case you didn't hear me, I'm going to say this again, blooper reel. Welcome to episode 9 of Black Business Chat. Today we're going to have Elevation Allah on out of Houston, and he's going to talk about the good things that he's doing in Houston as far as with Black business owners and things like that. I'm going to bring him on in a minute, but that's something we want to talk about today, because we believe that we need to link up together to do bigger and better things, and the only way to do that is group economics. I've talked to Allah several times and things like that, so we've had some really good discussions. So we want to bring it on air. That way you get to hear it. It's on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube, things like that. Let's see. We need to do some housekeeping. Support Black business. You can get a shirt. It helps us with the channel. It helps us grow the network. Helps us do many other different things, as well as it makes a statement without you ever having to say anything. So I call it statement tees. It speaks without you saying anything, and I think that's great, right? And it's just a subliminal message to people to support Black business. You can find a link in the description of the event, or if you're watching on YouTube, you can find the description under the video in the description box. Also, too, if you're a business owner watching this, make sure you go to blackfolkhotspots.com and create a profile for your business so that we can introduce you to our network and put you into our daily rotation to our 250,000 plus connections across social media and email. And that's free. So that's what we do. We try to help people get what they need, which is more exposure, which more exposure is more growth or more sales, so that you can expand your business, hire your first employee, and help to increase our medium incomes in the Black communities, and which we believe is a direct correlation with income and crime. So the higher incomes, the lower the crime. So if we can help someone, give them a job, maybe they don't have to go out on the streets to, sell some dime bags of weed to afford Pampers for their child. But, I just believe that the person's not a business owner. I believe that most people should be business owners, period. But you're always going to have people who, that don't want to be business owners. They want to just go punch a clock, and that's fine, right? But I just think as a man, it gives a person a little bit more about themselves. It just makes them feel like more when they can go and earn a living instead of always, having to resort to doing things that could get them locked up, take them away from their kids and things like that. It just to me, I don't know the exact word. I'm sure you probably do. You know what I'm getting at. But to me, it seems like it makes you less of a man to not be able to provide. And people will do, it's survival of the fittest, and people will do whatever they feel they need to do to make something happen. But anyway, let me do this. I'm gonna close out the I'm gonna flip off the video real quick, but I'll still be here as I bring as I get Ali online. Let's see other things. Also, check us out on Black Folk Hotspots. Check us out on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, you can put into the search bar Black Folk Hotspots. Check us out on Twitter. We are also there at BFHS Network. And then you can also check us out on Instagram. We are BFHS Network, or you can Google Black Folk Hotspots, And you'll see all the different locations that we are on the internet. And so we want you to create a profile. We have 2,100 Black business owners thus far. Our mission is um, is 1 million Black business owners um, connecting, linking, being linked together. Because like our guest that we're going to bring on pretty soon is from Houston, and I'm from Gary. So, Indiana. So Houston, Texas, Indiana, and we're connected, but we connected through Black folk hotspots. You may have somebody from New York City that's connected with someone from LA, because we need more partnerships and we need more, connections. Because when you look at the grand scheme of things, um, we're we're looking at the fact that um, you're not building a big business solo, period, right? You need, if you look at any flow chart or any corporation, or you look at the flow chart of your corporation that you work for, then you instantly know exactly what needs to be done. You have a president, or president, CEO, or CEO, and you have presidents, you have vice presidents, you have executive management, you have mid-level management, you have entry level, you have a whole bunch of different components to that go into big business. And ultimately, that's where you want to be. I mean, most people started, the last company I worked for was a technology reseller, and they started, just like you or I, the CEO started, building computers using a skill that he had, and he started building and fixing computers. And in doing that, he was able to, he would, fix up a computer and he would post it online in the Chicago Tribune. And then as people started to, buy his computers, he would buy another one, fix it up, sell it, buy another one, fix it up. And next thing you know, he has a $9 billion business, some 10, 15, 20 years later. That in itself is huge. The blueprint is already there, people. It's up to us whether or not we want to take advantage of the blueprint and we want to just rock and roll with that. We also need to, it's not all about Blackness. We don't have manufacturing plants, or a lot of them. We don't have different things. So we have to form partnerships. We have to know how to conduct business and handle people in different ways. That's just something that needs to be done, and so we can move around in different circles. At least that's where I feel. Other than that, if you have any questions, be sure to post them on the event page. Be sure to post them on YouTube. I'll answer them after the video, or someone else will answer them. But let's rock and roll. I'm try to get them online here. As soon as technology boy. Come on, technology, act right. There we go. There we go. We're cooking now. Soon get them on board. Sooner or later, we're gonna get this video thing fixed where we can bring people in the video. I mean, that's one of my biggest dilemmas. I'm gonna figure it out sooner or later. Just when I think I have it figured out, it throws me a curveball. So
peace, Mr. Ryan.
Hey, what's up, Elevation?
Not too much. Not too much. Okay. Did you get my text and everything, right?
No, I didn't. Okay. Hold on one sec. Okay, so we having some technical difficulties. We having some, but yeah, we having some technical difficulties. But that's technology. But you know what? You push through. That's what happens. You know, nothing is ever gonna go 100% correct. I don't care. You know, when you see, you see these movie studios, you see movies, you see things like that. You see, you see after a bunch of takes. That's why they don't do a whole bunch of things live, because anything can happen, right? But you know what? I like to show. There we go. I like to show a total different thing, because we push through. We've been at this for so many times. We've had so many different issues that popped up that we were able to overcome, because most people in business, you fail your way to success, right? If you read if you've read autobiographies of business owners, things like that, you'll notice that they've had more failures than they had successes. It just is what it is. So I think we got it. I think we're good now. So we're gonna bring them on.
Oh, Mr. Ryan.
Yep. Can you hear me now? Are we better? Connection?
That's better so far.
Okay, cool. Okay. Eventually I'm gonna figure out exactly how to. I don't know. I've had it to where it bring guests on to the to bring them on live, but for some odd reason it's not working for me, or I haven't sent the right thing. Like I sent. Did you get the invite from Google Hangouts?
Actually, I'm not even by the computer. Well, the computer's in the house, but I'm not by in the kitchen right now.
Oh, okay.
I was hoping to do a phone call.
Yeah. Well, here's the deal. So I got you live. So I'm on, and I got you live on audio. So is that cool with you?
That's peace. That's super cool.
All right. Cool. Well, we can get started. How much time do we have?
If we can wrap it up 15, 20 minutes, whatever, I'll be happy.
Okay, sounds like a plan. Perfect for me. Well, here I have Elevation Allah from Houston, Texas. He's doing some great things down in Houston, trying to round up the troops so we can all come together as well. And so we're going to talk about what he's doing now, maybe what he's done in the past, and what led him to this. And then we're going to talk about some things that he wants to chat about, maybe so that we can work together and shoot out some knowledge to our people and how we work as far as connecting and linking together and being better. Elevation, you got the floor. Tell us about yourself. Tell us about what you're doing, who you are, about your business, and then let's. I guess that's the way we can start today.
Number one, my name is Elevation Allah. I'm from Houston, Texas, and I'm the owner of the VisitBlackBusiness.com website, which is a proof of concept for a national Black business directory. I wanted to go ahead and perfect a model here in Houston first, and this is actually a rebranding of my old company, my old website, which is called Elevation Magazine. Elevation Magazine was a Black business directory as well. I had about 400 Black businesses and Black people signed up to it before I got hacked. And the reason why I got hacked is because of my ignorance on security. And a lot of times people say, why would somebody hack the site? And two of the primary reasons I can think of that's outside just being malicious is one, with something called an SQL injection. You can use your site as a relay to send out spam. Spam is unwanted, unsolicited email to a mass of people. And two is to see if they can filter through any type of e-commerce database or credit card database that your website might have. It'll be different if I just had a site about baseball or something. I'm just, it's a fan page or whatever. But being that I'm conducting business, that automatically puts me necessity, because before I created a site, I was selling oils. I was going to computer. I was selling oils and natural products, things of that nature. But part of my problem with that was I didn't have, how do I say, an affordable way to communicate with my potential customers. Because generally speaking, when you talk about advertising through newspapers or advertising through magazines and such, you know, generally speaking, you talk about it goes into the thousands of dollars, if not thousands, maybe several hundreds of dollars. That's just for a small ad. So it wasn't good for me. But before that, so I have been selling oils all my life. I have a background in IT, information technology. Specifically, my specialty was exchange messaging, exchange server, corporate communications, things of that nature. You know, I got really burned out of corporate America several years ago. Because the thing with that is you got to run hard, run fast, and you know. So that was a previous life. But my inspiration now is to try to lay a foundation. I tried, but want to lay a foundation on which other layers can be built. And because everything has a goal to it, so first we have to have a group economic or economic base. Once you have an economic base, that allows you the ability to reward or punish those in your community and those outside your community. Because now you're forced to be reckoned with. So you're not just talking about I don't like such and such or I'm going to boycott such and such. No, you're going to. And that's one of the reasons Mr. Ryan White okay for a coon to get on TV or some people to get on TV and say disparaging remarks about black people because there's no consequence. There's no advertising. Yeah, there's no consequence. You know, and then it actually is more profitable to talk bad about black people as opposed to speaking up for them because, you know, you can get a check. If you say some disparaging remarks about your own kind, especially, there's a few examples of that. Stacey Dash should be one of them. Stephen A. Smith, you know, he's in that roundup right there. So that's why I talk about the reward aspect. You know, if people know, you know what, if I go out and stick my neck out for black people, for my people, then I'm going to be rewarded, you know what I'm saying, or they have my back. They have my back, you know what I'm saying? So if anything happens, hey, they got me. Yeah, that's part of it. But that's just the first layer, the group economics. Then from that, we go towards dealing with the politicians, you know, and letting the people know. It don't always have to be something magnificent. You don't need a $1 million building and stuff like that. First, let's get the education together. Let's get these streets together. So I'm not spending an extra $1,000 every year trying to replace tires and going through rotation. Let's get some more bus stops in front of these businesses. You know, so they get some more foot traffic. You know, we can start with small stuff that actually can lead. You know, this is one of the reasons why floods. A flood is like the water is like the worst kind of weather because so many drops and so many snowflakes can create a flood. You see, so with that being said, that's how we stop. You see,
right?
Excuse me.
No, I'm agreeing. I'm saying right. Yeah, I'm agreeing with you. Absolutely.
And then from the political level, whenever I believe that we should infiltrate the court system and law enforcement. When I say infiltrate, I mean we need to have independent community review boards. We need to let them know that, you know, we only expect them to uphold the law and enforce the law. We don't need them to pass judgment because that's not what they do. That's what judges do. And it seems like but nowadays they are passing judgment. So it's like almost like Judge Dredd or something on black people.
Right. Hey, let me ask you a question real quick. So yes, are you, and this is something that this is kind of like off the cuff a little bit, but are you familiar with the situation between Brother Umar and the sister, the quote unquote, the conscious stripper.
The conscious stripper, yeah, Kim Ronzo.
Yeah, you know, I'm gonna get Kim on soon, because something bothered me with that, and I'm gonna tell you that You know, a lot of people didn't like my view on it, and maybe you don't, but you know, I tell people we're not always going to agree on everything.
Yes, sir.
Right. But the one thing that got me, and I was a really big Umar fan, right? You know, for the most part, and I think in everything that we do, we have to, you know, we have to judge a person based off of certain things. And you know, I like the words that he was preaching. I like a lot of the things. I like the Garveyism. I like, you know, the things that he talked about for the most part. But I'm not going to say I agree with everything that he said, right? Because I don't think I agree with everything that everyone say. Like I'm sure that everyone doesn't agree with everything I say. That doesn't mean that, you know, I don't take the 80% of the stuff I do agree with, you know, and use it or understand. But I know that he was raising money for that school, and I thought that was a very, 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 you know, great thing that he was doing. And you know, and he raised a couple $100,000. But it seems Brother Polite had something too to say, and I thought what he said was great too. He said, you know, yeah, we're trying to get this big school, but why don't we open little storefronts across America and then show them a blueprint? So then more people are like, oh, this is successful, because, you know, people would be more inclined. Now, the interaction between him and Kim, you know, I thought that that it is what it is, right? You know, she had an occupation, whether you agree with it or not. That's what she did to make her money. You know, I'm not saying that that's the greatest thing, but at the same time, that's what she did. That doesn't take anything away from her intellect or anything that she's doing, right? And him to say that, hey, he lost $1 million over her, to me, and then I was more upset with him in the way he handled it, because it seemed like it was all about the money, because he went from being this guy to calling her tramps and doing all these things. But I'm like, wait a minute, bro, you was just, you know, sleeping with her not too long ago. And that was the part that got me. I don't know. I mean, I was like, you know, it's just like with me and, you know, look, with my daughter's mom, we may not always have the best relationship. We may not always have a agree, but I would never call her out of her name, because at one point we were in a relationship and she's the mother of my child. You know, as mad as she makes me sometimes, I would never, I just wouldn't do that. And I just thought that it's like, wow, is this what this is how you know, so it kind of like dropped like a million bricks on me. I'm like, wow, you know. And then I've seen things like, you know, complaining like, why aren't we getting more money and this, that, and the other. I'm like, is it all about the money or is it about the kids? Because, you know, sometimes you got to do things grassroots, and sometimes you got to, you know, you just have to. We have to be. I don't know. What's your take on it? I mean, that's just my opinion. So,
well, I'm gonna start like this. I'll go before, right? Mr. Ryan?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. You've been to Chicago before, correct?
Say that one more time.
Have you been to Chicago before?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was born and raised 30 minutes from Chicago.
Okay. There's a theater. The name of it escapes my memory right now. It might come later. But okay. There's a gangster that came from Indiana named John Dillinger.
Mm-hmm.
Now, John Dillinger, he was dating a woman, the supposed woman in the red dress, and he was, as he was watching a movie or whatever, he was inside the theater. I kind of lured him out because he trusted her so much. So she got him to come out of the street, and when he came out of the street, that's when the FBI shot him dead.
Okay, right.
The thing about it is that, and I can even talk about Samson and Delilah as well, but a lot of times our weakness is what the enemy, whoever the enemy is, uses to exploit and get at it. You see, in this example, I think it was Kim Rimegard. And this is why I say this. It would have been different if, to me, if she done the exact same thing, and maybe another sister may come out, another sister named Sister Soul Love. But I try to draw the correlation between the two. Sister Soul Love, you might remember her, you may not. She's the one who was downlinking from CNN to Uncle Tom, and then she was advocating warfare against the crackers. She was actually, this is what she's saying. I'm paraphrasing, but this is nearly verbatim. She called for race wars, this and third. I'm like, what? So the point is that amongst us, we got agent provocateurs, and we got people who don't have the best interests of the masses in mind. So they'll do anything to sabotage.
Right, and yeah, and I agree. I really do agree with that, because that's been the demise of so many different things, and it just makes you think, you know. But one of the biggest things is, I don't think that she ever would have came out and said anything negative if it wasn't some things that he said to her that was off the cuff. And I just think, you know, because in relationships, you know, that happens. You know, it happens in relationships where a person doesn't have any celebrity, you know, which is always crack up. You know, when I see people that they've been together for a while, and then all of a sudden they break up, and then they want to, you know, then they feud, and I'm like, you know, it's, you know, I was like, but just 2 weeks ago, y'all was the best of the best. So I don't know, man. It's weird to me. It really is. It's crazy. I don't quite understand all of it, but I do know, like you said, and I agree with that. You know, there has been some demise, and there's been some people that has infiltrated the circles and done some things that are not, you know, kosher.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. What her motives is, I would have had a bigger problem with Dr. Umar if he came out just, you know, saying from off the muscle and just called her a tramp and so on and so forth, as if so people would strike the first blow. But the thing I see is her having a video out there and putting these texts and stuff, and that's kind of, you know, when you communicate, that's kind of a sacred thing. It's almost like you got a best friend, and then y'all might like lean over to whisper something to you, whatever. He just bust you in the nose. Like, you know, violated so much with that, because you allowed him to get in your personal space, and you wouldn't normally allow it. Normally, black people anyway, we give each other about 3 feet, just generally speaking. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. We don't be all in each other's face, but you know, so that's a certain closeness. You know, and she was talking about a relationship just that and third, because he was talking about that he was in a sexual relationship, whatever. But you know, these things happen. I would be more concerned if he did have sex with her, for one. But the way he handled it, I think it was authentic. I would have found it been more. I think this stunt if he would have just kind of like just held his feelings in, whatever. And I want to say, on top of that, every female is not necessarily a woman, in a sense that it's just like every male is not necessarily a man. These are more like character traits, if you will, as opposed to a biological inheritance. You know, because you know you got men in their 30s, 40s, so on and so forth, but they still carry themselves other than men. So I would say the same thing goes for a woman. You know, I don't think they're exempt to it. You know, he definitely shocked a lot of people what he said, because people didn't really see that in him. But you got to understand, the brother from Philadelphia, so that was genuine to me.
Yeah, and I think you're right, and I think it was genuine. It was him, but I always say that when we're trying to get something, we have to do things a little bit different. And you know, had he said the same things without the name calling, I think people would have took his message and it wouldn't have been much of a controversy. They would have took his message a little bit different, because that was a divide. That was a, wow, did he just call her a tramp? Right? You know, because she didn't really say anything. I think, well, from what I saw, I mean, I didn't, you know, like spend hours and hours and hours, and it obviously didn't get 24-hour news coverage on CNN. Right. But the one thing that I looked at it, you know, and we learned this in grade school. There's a cause and then there's an effect, right?
All the time.
You know,
Right.
and
That's
most,
correct.
you know, or, you know, even in, you know, in life, it's like, you know, a good analogy in basketball is like, you know, the ref didn't see that foul, right? You know, you was
Right.
putting on my jersey, but the ref didn't see it at all. And one of the things that got me was, if he didn't get that message about losing that money or that donor,
Right.
would this even have happened? Because, you know, just looking at the Texas, as soon as I looked at the Texas, I said, okay, and I'm a man, and you know, and I get things. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, so he was meeting her late. No problem. I don't have no problems with that. You know,
No doubt.
it is what it is. I mean, you know, women do it, men do it, whatever. That's life, right? Those are adults, and they're adults, and they're both consenting, right?
Right.
And, you know, maybe the memo that, now the one thing that I will say that I have never done, and I've never, you know, put a woman on a pedestal, you know, like feeding her head with certain things, saying that, hey, you know, I'm gonna marry you, or wifey, or any of those type of words without knowing, without that being my actual intention. You know, which is kind of crazy, not crazy, but growing up with my sister, my mom and my dad would warn my daughter, I mean, not my daughter, my sister, about those things that men will say just to get what they want. You know, and I don't know if by them warning her, it made me say those things. I mean, I still got what I wanted without saying those things. You know, that was my thing. And so whether a person, you know, but then I do know there's people I've dealt with in the past that have taken a relationship, have thought a relationship was more serious than what it was, you know, and then you cut it off and say, hey, that wasn't my intentions, or whatever. I just think that, you know, as leaders, you know, we have to do things a little bit different, because we're already under a very high power microscope. You know, we already have the separation in our communities. And I also believe that sometimes we have to take the high road. And when I was talking to my girl about that, she said, and she liked Dr. Umar. I mean, she does, and it was a couple times when she was like, hey, I should chat with him about, you know, some issues. And I remember she said, I never thought that he was any I liked his message, but I never really thought that he was anything. Something she was saying something basically like, it was he always had a little bit of innuendos about women. And that was the first time that she ever said that, and I was like, that was interesting. And she made me think about it. She was like, hey, you know, I like his message on certain things, but his stuff was always male geared, and she felt as though a lot of his videos and Sin of Speak, it was more about men, and he kind of, women were more put down. And I don't know, but anyway, what I just thought, I don't know why that came to my mind, because I know that talking to you, I get a little bit deeper conversation on certain issues, and that just popped up. But I do want to talk about
no problem.
the.
My thing, I want to put there and say that as far as them being more male centered, I get that, because at the fundamental level, the way we've been conditioned or taught, you know, here in America, is that women get life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I believe there's a distinction between giving life and giving birth.
That's
Meaning that
true.
I think there's a difference because it's the sperm that's actually doing the traveling. I'm not saying the egg don't move around, but the sperm, you got to fight it out. There's some intelligence inside there, so it's some life that's in there. And to go a little bit further back, I think that's why they call the male child the sun from the very beginning, because the old people, they saw the ancients, they saw the male child being the center of everything. And the way we are now in this country, we live like in kind of like a matriarchal society. We do. The black women, they make more money than us. They have more power than us on so many different levels. So that's one of the reasons why we're so weak. Because if anybody just want to come take it, they got to meet the women before they meet us. So the strength is gone, the physical strength. Not saying women can't do a better job than us mentally or whatever. Because they've proven that they're on average about 7 years more developed psychologically than we are. I think later on down the line, we kind of take off. But at first, yeah. So when they're 18 and 18, they think about going to college. Us, we don't know what we want to do. They think about their credit. See, we messing our credit up. So it's a lot of different levels like that. But I could definitely see the need for the strong male leadership because it's so much more emphasis being placed on developing the women in this society as opposed to men. So I think we need a whole lot more. I feel fortunate the fact that I had a father, in the household the whole time. But I see what happens when you don't have a father in the household. It's kind of rough. The little things about teaching your son how to use a miter saw or chainsaw or how to hammer a nail. That stuff is it's like an art for real. We don't really place no emphasis. That's second nature. But I think it's something that has something to do with building your character or your own. I won't say your own ingenuity because maybe you say, okay, I can do it myself instead of just being. That's why these guys are so sensitive nowadays because they don't have that male role model. They're quick to shoot somebody over nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But in Rhyme goes, yeah, she's definitely she's on Facebook, and I would like to see how that plays. Let it be known. I want you record it right here. Is that it won't be the last time that one of our leaders or somebody's prominent in our community is taken down by a woman or attacked by a woman based on his behaviors. This is a repeated thing. Almost any leader, it wasn't black or white, but any leader, you gotta look at what's her name? Helen of Troy. She had 2 different armies fighting over her. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Do you think? Hey, Real, do you think that that's one of the reasons why there will never be a single president, for the most part, or there will not be many, because that's why auto insurances are lower for married men, things like that. Not that married men don't venture out.
When you single, it's a certain level of distrust. People don't trust you as much because they judge you based on how you keep your family or your woman or your children. So if there's nobody there that does speak up for you, because these are your validation points. It's kind of like, okay, where's this guy coming from? I get that. I got a business partner right now. She's a marketing professor at a private university down here, and we went to the Buffalo Soldier Museum the other day. She sits on the board. She just showing me the new renovations for the conference room, whatever. And she introduced me to different people. And 99% of all of them, they already married. Me, I'm just single. I'm just doing my thing. So I'm just kind of like, I'm one of the younger ones too. I'm 38. So all of them they got about 15, 20 years easy.
Right.
But it's another circle, but that's okay. I like that circle because that gives me an opportunity to be kind of like a bridge or connected. Because the problem they're having, even though they're married and they got a lot of different stuff going on for them, is that they don't have enough community participation. Most people that go to this museum, they come from out of town. So they want some ideas on how to make that happen. I'm letting them know. And I'm definitely going to recommend, because I recommend several people to come contact you and give me a number and everything. I don't know if they did or not. Everybody does shake and move.
With people, and this is what I found, and this is even funny. I stopped giving out my business cards. I ain't gonna lie. I stopped giving them out because number one, most people, and I went to a different strategy, and I'll tell you what it is in a minute. But most people, it's like they business card collectors, right? I would go to networking events,
Right.
and I would, pass several business cards, put it in the hands of everyone, and then I would sit back, and not that I couldn't, and I would get theirs too, but not that I would sit back and wait. But a lot of times I test things. I want to see how long is it going to take you to contact me, send me an email saying, hey, nice meeting you, or something, right? And
Right.
I would never get any of that. And I was like, our people don't know how to network. And I know
That's
it's
another reason. You're right.
it's
That's
a,
another reason why I thought about the business directory. You're right.
I said, it's a small sample size, but I bet you on the bigger issue, that's one of the biggest problems. And when in reality, so what I would do is I would get their business cards and then I would hit them. I would wait a week, 2 weeks, whatever, and then maybe 3 weeks, I would hit them and say, hey, we met at such a networking event. Sorry for the delay in reaching out to you, but I wanted to say, hey, it was a pleasure meeting you, and just let it roll. And or I would send them an invite to Black Folk Hotspots, because when I would go to these events, the one thing that that what we do is unique is I'm not selling insurance, or I'm not selling financial services, or I'm not selling tech products, or or natural products, right? I'm selling a service that can help every Black business owner get more exposure, period. I don't care if I could connect you to one other person, that connection may be, the connection that builds the next LinkedIn, or build the next Facebook, or build the next whatever conglomerate company. And, because I try to tell people the guy that started Reid Hoffman, who started LinkedIn, one of the founders of LinkedIn, he connected with one of his guys that he worked with at PayPal. That's the connection. The guy had a skill set that he needed and that he knew, and he reached out to him. Hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. I want to start this businessy type site, whatever. You look at, Steve Jobs and damn, and I can't call his co-founder. I can't call his co-founder's name right now to save my life. But nobody really talks about him. But he was the brains behind all the technology. Steve Jobs was a front person, was the face. Yeah, was. Yeah, exactly. He was the face. Steve Jobs was the face. Wozniak was the bells and whistles behind the face. Now, don't get me wrong, Steve Jobs had, that insight, and Apple would not be where it's at today if it wasn't for either one of those two. They had to go equally, even though they had different skill sets. Bill Gates used to make fun of Steve Jobs because he said he owns a technology company and can't code anything. The same thing with Microsoft. Back in the 70s when Bill Gates had his this ideal of starting this company, and I know it's a lot of different things where he stole this, or he he borrowed this, or he didn't do this, but he had an idea, and obviously, and he took it and he ran with it, and he reached out to people. And I think so many times, it's like, how many people did he reach out to that told him, excuse my language, but go fuck yourself, right? And now they're sitting back going, I had an opportunity to get in with Microsoft on the ground floor. Looking at Google, those guys were MBA students at Stanford, if I'm not mistaken, and this was a class project. And one other thing, and this always cracks me up. I worked for CDW selling technology. That was my last corporate job, and we had to, during not orientation but during training, we had to put together a presentation
to our peers, you know, about CDW or about one of the competitors or something with technology. We had to present this. And I know what they were doing. They were getting us, you know, accustomed to putting together presentations to present to clients and things like that. Well, I did my presentation on Insight, which is a computer company, technology reseller, and they're out of Arizona, Chandler. And one of the main bullet points that I brought up, because I always like to teach as well as educate, you know, if those things could be separate, I like to give one of the bullet points, main bullet points was the guy that started Insight, which was a direct competitor of CDW. This was an MBA project that he had, you know, that he had done, and he got a D on it. You know, but he ran with that idea, and they're probably CDW's, you know, outside of regular consultants or whatever, they're probably one of CDW's main competitors. But, you know, CDW at the time, I don't know where they're at now today, they were like, you know, a $7 billion or $8 billion company, and Insight was like a $4 billion company. So to me, I kind of compared the two to McDonald's and Burger King, for instance. And, you know, where people, you know, people always shit on McDonald's, and I can see why with the food and this, that, and the other, but very few people talk about Burger King.
Yeah, Burger King's decent.
Yeah, but very few people talk about it. You know, you hear people talk about Walmart, but you won't hear the same people talk about, say, a Target, right? You know, so it's always that number one. You have that bullet on, you know, you have that bullseye on your chest or on your back, and you know, and people say, well, CDW, they're $7-8 billion company and making more money than Insight. And I said, you know, I don't know if I would say that, because just because you make a little bit less doesn't mean that maybe your overhead is lower. You know, so they can, you know, CDW can be, you know, a $7 billion, you know, revenue company, but, you know, finish up the year making $100,000, and the $4.3 billion company can finish up making $200,000 after all is said and done.
Exactly.
But you don't know.
Talk about Walmart and all the revenue, but it's really about how much cash flow you have at the end of the day. It's like profit. Walmart doesn't produce a lot of stuff. I know you mentioned Walmart, but they don't produce. They just distribute and sell.
Exactly.
So their profit is not as high as it could be. They're real slim margins in big stores like that.
And I'm gonna tell you, I love what you're doing, and it's so funny because, and I want to bring this up, and then we can talk about it for a minute or two. But you know, the fact that you're building out a business directory in Houston, the fact that we're building a social media directory that's kind of global, and that was our focus from the very beginning. You know, instead of just looking at Chicagoland as a whole, which is where I'm from. You know, I'm from Gary, Indiana. You know, and I was living in Chicago when I created it. And but I try to tell people, you know, it's just no different from, you know, the local business directories in black based in New Orleans or Atlanta or Richmond, Virginia, or New York City or or LA or Milwaukee or Detroit. I was like, we need to come together, because there's a big pie. If you have several thousand and I have several thousand, they have several thousand, this person over here has several thousand, now you put us all together and we have tens of thousands. You know, because I tell people, you know, the restaurant industry, say just take the pizza industry. Right, you got Papa John's, you got Domino's, you got all these other chains, Illuminati's, you know, Uno's, all these different pizza joints, right? but you can rest assured that they're part of the same association. So they're going to trade show meetings together. They're doing this, they're doing that. The CEOs are having, going out playing golf together. But when they get back to their offices, they're grinding it out, trying to grow their companies. So it's they look at numbers and they have competition, but I look at it, I call it friendly competition. I just went to one of the high schools in my city's class reunion. They have an all class reunion, and they just had it this past weekend. I went to the picnic, and it's funny because people know that I went to a competing school, and they were like, "Oh, you here? Checking us out, spying on us." I'm like, "Nah, no, there's no need to spy." I was like, I know a lot of you guys. We grew up together. I got there's people here that I went to grade school with that I hadn't seen since 6th grade or 5th grade or 7th grade or 8th grade. That I like to chop it up with and just have a good time. And I said it, friendly competition. And I remember the one girl, she looked at me, she said, "Friendly competition, that's a great word." And I was like, yeah, we compete because my high school was has this, it has a huge alumni. It was created in our city of Gary for the blacks that lived in the city in the 1930s. And so, we have a lot more tradition. Their high school, which is was created like in the 70s. So we had a 40-year head start on just alumni. We had 40 graduating classes before they were even in existence for the most part. So, and then a lot of the people who have ran the city or been mayors or in political or top brass in the city, they came from Roosevelt. Why did that happen? It happened because these are the people that they went to school with. These are the people they grew up with. So they trust, and that's the thing that I look at when building out a business. From day one, I never looked at a person who I felt as though were competing with us as a actual competitor. I invited them into Black Folk Hotspots. If there's a business directory, always, and I'm going to share their directory just as if, they were selling, natural hair products, but there's been several that have, and I thought the feeling was mutual because I'm like, hey, in order for us to grow, we need to support one another. But they've told, I've been kicked out of their directories. "Oh, you're a competing business. You can't be here." And I'm like, what? And then I've had several or a couple say, I'll never create a profile on your site. And I'm like, why not? Don't you want us to share your business? I mean, if some people created profiles, some of our business owners, because it is more local in touch, like you're doing the Houston thing, it is more local. Right. I would expect all our people from Houston area, or maybe even the outskirts of Houston, to create profiles on your site too. That's not going to take away from me. That's just more exposure for that business owner that may not knew about visitblackhouston.com. So if we can be that, and so I want to say this to you. I don't think that you feel this way. I honestly don't, not you. That's just not to me, that's not a good marketing play, to alienate, like there's more than one book in the library. You know what I mean? It's like, because what you want to create is the authority. You want people talking about in Houston, talking about Visit Black Houston. If I came to Houston and I asked, what's going on this weekend, I want them to say, go check out Visit Black Houston. And And that was the whole goal, because I know that we as Black people, we do travel around. As much as people don't believe that we move around, you know, we got a lot of professionals that travel, and that was one of the main things. It's like, hey, you know, let's create something online. Let's bring things into a perspective so that we can go. Why I have you here? What? Now you asked a couple questions, like, you know, what's the difference in our business directory from others in the city or national? Was that directed towards us, or is that something that you wanted for you?
Well, I believe you had, the original question was, you wanted me to type in a couple of things that I wanted you to ask me, or I wanted you to go ahead and address. Okay, so let's address that. Let's address what the differences between in your directory, you know, than others sit in the city or even nationally, and then let's talk about your business model. I want to at least get that out so we can talk about that. I'm going to address both of those. But before I go there, I would like to say that for me, I see, or for you, I see the natural progression. Since you've been at a national level so long, I feel as if the space gets crowded at the national level, or it's more quote-unquote more competition at that point. Indeed, you already been at the international level, because you'll either be in Canada or you'll be down in Belize or wherever. You're saying you have people from the UK. It's not saying you don't have people now. But I see that's the natural progression, because you have some more experience. If nothing else, with the SEO and tech side of things. See, so there's certain things that you know that you learned the hard way. That I don't know right now. Eventually, I will know, but I just wanted to go ahead and put that out.
Yeah, and I want to share those things with you so that I can help you and kill your learning curve. You know, to shorten your learning curve, rather, so it's not so big. I want to help these business owners with the things. You're right, the things that I've learned over time, the connections I've made, because we do have those. I've made those connections, or I learned those things, but that was what I was in love with. But because I fell in love with the internet, and I knew that I would be doing something with the internet back in 94, 95 when I fell in love with it. But anyway, go ahead and address, you know, what's the differences between local, nationally, and then your business model.
Now here, we had about 2 or 3 other Black businesses, right, here in Houston, but they mainly cater to the people who you might consider in the upper echelon, for licensed practitioners, doctors, lawyers, and such, because they advertise races. See, for example, let's say let's say a quarter page. A quarter page might be about, I'm saying on the low end, maybe about $1,200, $1,500. The quarter page of a little magazine. If the average business owner can't, and that's for 1 month. 1 month, you can't even track the distribution of these magazines or who reads these things. Now, you can do. There's a service out there where you can assign phone numbers or assign codes to different ads, and then when people call in, they'll ask for extension success. That's how we normally see it. Let me get extension 200. Yeah, you know that came from the southwest side of Gary. You see, or let me get extension. So that's how you do that. But so I saw a need with that. You see, because I'm like, wow, businesses are opening and closing all the time down here. If people get an idea, they'll go ahead and run with it. And a lot of times, the businesses are underfunded and they lack capital. But they might have a good idea, they might have a great idea, but they need something that's affordable, cheap, free, and all that kind of stuff. But even before we get there, the other directories, they don't advertise on social media at all. I looked at their pages. I have a plug-in on my browser, Opera browser, called Built With. So Built With tells you what the technology that was used to make the website, or what the technology, what the website was made with, or built with. And a lot of times they just they use like a lot of Flash, stuff that's non-SEO friendly. And even when you click on an entry for one of the the businesses, I'm looking at the URL. The URL is still, it's I won't say convoluted, but it's not friendly. It's not helpful to the business owner per se to get them found. It's just something that people do up there. So I'm taking all this into consideration. When that's different, I guess poor people and rich people. Say rich people, they can just go buy what they want, but at some point in time when the money runs out, they kind of fall prey to whatever circumstance they in. When poor people, they're kind of ingenious. They use ingenuity to get around. That's how you got stoplights and air conditioners and also because people are tired of being hot and all this other stuff. So I'm really in tune with the local business community in a sense, like because you mentioned business card collection. Now I will say that is me, but my business card collection is a little bit different because that's how I get my contact information from my database that I'm creating.
Mm-hmm.
The other folks, they pretty much, they probably just going through the motions. So I totally get what you're saying on that. So you think you're going to hear from these folks, you never hear from them. And I thought about the whole business card thing as far as stopping that. And I think what I'm going to do is I want to go to ink pens. I think I'm going to try ink pens out just to see how they operate because I think I want to start giving ink pens to certain people who I really want to do business with. Because I think people throw away business cards, to be honest with you. I think the ink pen people don't throw those away unless it busts on them and the ink just goes everywhere.
You know what? You're hitting on something, and I want to tell you something. I've tried something like that. I was in a partnership in a flower shop like in the late 90s, and two things that you hit on. Number one was the ads, like in the physical directories, the half pages, the pages, or whatever. And this was with the phone book, and we had paid.
Oh, those are expensive.
Yeah, buddy, we had paid.
You got to pay monthly.
Yeah, and my partner, before I came on board the year prior, she had paid like I want to say $7,500 or $10,000 for a full paid ad in the newspaper in the phone book for the year. And I remember asking, when we were reviewing, when they were coming back to to re-up, I was like, well, let's see what this phone book generated us as far as sales or phone calls even, right? Because a lot of times you can't, if we're not really tracking, we can't tell the sales, but I can look at the phone calls and say, hey, okay, we're receiving, 500 calls a month and it came from here. And, and they use the tracking number, which, so they can show us these numbers. And I said, well, I don't know if this is really working. And this was 98, 99, maybe 2000, something like that. And I'm like, I don't know if people are still going to the phone book like that. I mean, maybe some of the older people, but most people are going to the internet because, like I said, by this time I was full-fledged into the internet and learning how to grow stuff, right? And so I was the gung-ho, and I was like, ugh. I was like, well, would it be now we know we need to be in the phone book for that one or two, the people who go to a phone book, but and they had an online version too, and this, that, and the other. I said, so is it cost effective for us to just take just the regular ad? You're going to put us in there anyway. Should we just go in the phone book, pay you to be in there, but the bare minimum, just to have a listing and advertise, basically advertise the shit out the company. Uh-oh. So we lost them. We'll be right back. Hold on a sec. Hold on 1 second. Yep. I'm back. Or I guess we lost. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, cool. So I was saying that I didn't know if it was going to be, cost effective enough for us to spend that $7,500 for that ad. And,
you know, and the salesperson was like, yeah, you know, you're getting X amount of calls, you're getting this, and this. I said, well, here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking of taking, you know, $5,000 and buying $5,000 worth of business cards and pens, and putting and getting rid of those, passing those things out within 30 to 45, maybe 60 days, definitely within 90 days, right? To everybody we come in contact with. And now they have our website, they have our company name, they have our phone number. And what happens is, now that they know who we are, because it's a flower business, so people are not thinking about it unless they have a funeral, a wedding, you know, I call it the get off the couch flowers and, you know, things like that, right? So they're not thinking about us to the end, but we always want to put our business name into, you know, into the top, to the top of people's head. Basically, we want to be the authority in the city, right? And the guy looked at me and was like, do you really think that'll work? I was like, oh yeah. I said, it's all about reducing your time frames and bringing things down to a small level. So if you do more things in a shorter period of time, it just creates something totally different than if I took these same, you know, 10,000 business cards and passed them out over the course of 18 months. You know, it's the equivalent of business spam, right? You know, to a certain extent, but effective spamming. You know, every time you go to a gas station, put that, you know, instead of paying at the pump, go inside, hand that clerk your money and your business card. When you pay your bills, instead of just sending your bills in with the check or whatever, send that bill in with a check and a business card. Because somebody's on the other end of that. Right? When you go to a restaurant, instead of, you know, when you leave that tip and your business card. And those things.
Stamp and start taking my money there.
Huh?
I said, I might give me a stamp and start stamping my money. Because I pay people all the time, you know.
Hey.
$1 here, $1 there.
Hey, you know what? That's something I never thought about, but that'll work too. And so I liked what you said about the pens, because we always have to think outside the box. And that was the thing that got me in a lot of trouble. I ain't gonna say a lot of trouble, but it was the biggest thing with the frustration in other businesses, because I was an outside the box thinker. So when I was talking to my managers, when I was in financial services, and different things I would come up with, you know, that were legal and legit and, you know, full of, you know, the ethics and the morals was there, you know, my vice president couldn't always understand. And so I realized something. I had to stop telling him. And he told me too. He said, you know what? How did you get this? And how did you do this? And how are you standing at the top of the leaderboards all the time? And I said, well, it's two things. Number one, I stopped talking to you. And I started doing it. Because I realized, and this is nothing against you, but I realized that your thought process and my thought process are totally different. And some things that I might think of to do for advertising and marketing, my business or my sales process, you may not get it because you have a way of doing, you know, what got you here. Now you've taught me what got you to this place, but I don't want to be where you're at. Even though I want to get to your level, I want to be better than you. I want to make more money than you. I want to have a bigger team than you. I want to do bigger and better things than you. So I'm going to take what you're giving me, and then I'm going to add my 2 cents to it. And he told me from that point, he said, Ryan, stop asking me, just do it. Don't ask me. He said, because you're 100% correct. And that's, though, you know, I talk to people in network marketing, you know, and I tell them the same thing. I'm like, listen, your upline person can only get you so far. I tell people to Black Folk Hotspots, I can only get you so far. I can only get you to where I'm at. Because that's as far as I've went. But if I can get you to where I'm at, it's going to help us get to where, you know, higher to where we want to go. And then we'll be able to reach back and say, okay, now we're here today, you know, at 250,000 people in our network, but we want to get to $500,000. Now, when we get to $500,000, now we can bring you to $500,000.
because we know what we had to do to get there. And that's one of the biggest, huh?
What do you think about conferences, seminars, with workshops, like an exposition, expo?
I believe they work, and that's something that's on our. That's something that I know that's on our radar, on our roadmap. Matter of fact, 2016, I wanted to do it in 2015, but 2016 was something that I had to push it back because I hadn't created the right partnerships that I wanted. Right? I thought I had, but then we had some flakiness. We had some flaky people, and I said, people still don't get it. Because when you could I think of things like Black Enterprise Conference, right? It's huge. I think about things like
what are you trying, like a person, 400 person?
Say it again.
How much they charge a person for the Black Enterprise? Is that like 300 a person?
300, 400, I think maybe 600. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And I'm gonna tell you, my whole stilo was really not to make the money behind it per se. Not if I don't know what their dollars and cents look like on the back end. But I looked at doing things regionally, every couple months, because motivation, learning, training, things like that. It's like Zig Ziglar said. It's like taking a shower, changing your underwear, taking a bath. You need it every day, right? So I looked at, and I'm telling you, I was in network marketing, but I was with in the financial services. I was with Primerica, and some things I learned about Primerica that I used in this business. Like we would have once a month. Okay, so we would train twice a week, right? And then once a month, what we would do is we would have like everybody come together meeting, right? Now let me take that back. I would try to talk to my people on a daily basis that were around. Something always training daily. Then 2 days a week we would have team meetings on Wednesday and Saturdays, and Wednesday evenings and Saturday afternoons, and then once a month or so we would have where the whole office came together, right? And then once a quarter, and that was all the offices of my vice president. And then once a quarter, it would be these small little conferences that were like we had to go to. Sometimes they would be, in our area, but sometimes they would be in another area where the vice presidents got together and brought all their people in. And then once a year, it would be the big company conference. And so, and each one of the price points was accordingly, but it was never more than a couple $100. But with Black Enterprise, they're getting a big sponsor, they're getting this. I look at like Tom Joyner and his cruise he does every year for the HSBCUs for the scholarships and things like that. I look at those things because you look at it, it's thousands of people. He's buying a whole cruise ship. Black Enterprise, Urban League Conference, they're shutting it down. You'll have something different. You'll have Black Enterprise Conference charging, several $100 for it, but then you had an Urban Enterprise, their conference is usually free.
What was Urban? I never heard Urban Enterprise.
Not Urban Enterprise, the Urban League.
Oh, Urban League, okay.
Their conference is usually free. Almost a lot of times same speakers, this, that, and the other, because you can do so much. You can bring the cost down of these things if you have the right sponsors, right?
That's right. Because
sponsors, they want to put their stuff up. They want to be, Black Folk Hotspots conference, sponsored by Chevy. They want that in all their print material. They want X amount of people to see their business, that name recognition, the branding, this, that, and other. They want to park their new line of Chevy series, you know, in you know, so that everybody can see, in exchange for maybe some emails, so that they can, you know, some questionnaires, some polls. Hey, how soon are you looking to buy a car? You know, what are you driving now? Different things like that. You saw the Major League Baseball All-Star game was a couple weeks ago, and you see that they give out, you know, a Chevy to the MVP. Well, they're getting their sponsorship from that, and at the same time,